The disciplinary battalion, abbreviated as DISBAT, is a real nightmare for any conscript soldier. In essence, these are special military units that combine the features of a prison and an army. Soldiers who have committed criminal offenses during their service are sent to DISBAT. Most often, they manage to avoid a full prison term. A civil court replaces it with a sentence in a disciplinary battalion, which can last from 3 months to 2 years. At first glance, it seems that this is milder than imprisonment, but most convicts quickly realize that they were wrong. A disciplinary battalion is in many ways even harder. It is often compared to a maximum security prison, where every day is a test. Here, there are no concepts of rest, leave, or free time that are familiar to conscripts. The life of a convict is scheduled down to the minute. The only law that governs absolutely everything is the charter. In the disciplinary battalion, the usual human rules and concessions do not apply. There are no compromises or leniency. All movements on the territory of the unit are carried out exclusively at a marching pace or running, without the right to a relaxed gait. Any deviation is immediately punished. The days in the disciplinary battalion are absolutely identical, devoid of variety. 8 hours are allocated for sleep, and even those are rarely peaceful, as the constant tension and strict regime do not allow for relaxation. The next 8 hours are devoted to hard work, concrete and metallurgical workshops, sawmills, warehouse unloading, or other physically exhausting tasks. These jobs were originally chosen to break people's spirits, force them to obey the rules, and completely eradicate any signs of disobedience. The remaining 8 hours are spent on constant training, physical training, memorizing military regulations, and endless drill exercises. Drill training is particularly exhausting, as it is conducted regardless of weather and conditions. Under the scorching sun, in the rain, in the snow, and in the frost. Every day, the convicts march for 4 hours, honing each movement to perfection. Mistakes are not allowed. Any incorrect movement is met with shouts and punishment. Often, even a walk in the fresh air turns into another form of abuse. Convicts are given small fenced-in cages in which they must march from corner to corner for hours. The soldiers nicknamed these monotonous, mechanical movements, walking the square. Physical training in the labor camp is a separate ordeal. If the work in production exhausts the body, then physical training finishes it off completely. Every day, convicts spend several hours doing military calisthenics, push-ups, running, and forced marches, all in all weather conditions. Heat, rain, snow, or frost, it makes no difference. The command "execute" means that the soldier must obey unconditionally. The soldiers' bodies are literally squeezed until the last drop of strength is gone. And when the body is almost at its limit, another part begins, memorizing the regulations. Simple, well-known provisions are read slowly and monotonously, and dozens of tired voices repeat them word for word after the commander. At this moment, a person loses their individuality, dissolving into the ranks. Their personalities seem to be erased, and their faces become identical, emotionless, lifeless. This is the main goal, to turn living people into weak-willed, half-dead zombies, who are completely subordinate to the regulations. The most frightening thing about life in a disciplinary battalion is not even the daily routine, but the realization of its meaninglessness. The time spent here does not count toward the total length of service. After serving their sentence, soldiers return to their regular units and continue to serve their allotted months as if nothing had happened. This is psychologically more damaging than beatings or extra duties. For the most violent offenders, there is an even harsher means of suppression: the guardhouse. These are solitary confinement cells, where one can be held for a period of 5 to 30 days. Here, punishment becomes a living hell. The convict is deprived of all communication. Talking is forbidden, and doing anything else is also prohibited. They spend more than 20 hours a day in complete silence and solitude, with the guard checking in only once every 15 minutes to demand a report. Any offense, even the smallest, or any inaccuracy in the report automatically adds another 5 days to the sentence. Therefore, it is not uncommon for a person who was sentenced to 5 days to leave only after 20, almost broken. The atmosphere of isolation does its job. A person slowly goes mad. Sitting within 4 walls, without books, letters, newspapers, or even the opportunity to exchange a word with someone alive, he ceases to feel the passage of time. The world outside the cell ceases to exist. There is virtually no connection with the outside world, and many compare staying in a disciplinary battalion to being buried alive, a punishment that leaves deep scars on the psyche. In disciplinary battalions, the concept of discharge does not exist in principle. For a convicted soldier, the disciplinary battalion becomes a closed world from which there is no escape until the end of the term. Many who have gone through this say that the disciplinary battalion is worse than prison. In prison, at least there are concepts, a hierarchy, authorities, and bosses through whom certain issues can be resolved. There is a prison life, its own rules, cruel though they may be, but they allow you to adapt. In the army, none of this exists. In the disciplinary battalion, there are no military ranks or positions. Here, you are nobody. Everyone is equal in humiliation and equally turned into dust under the boots. There are no favorites, no close associates, no authorities who could make your life easier. There are no tough guys who don't wash the floors. In the disbat, everyone washes everything, floors and toilets. Every soldier is required to go through this, and there is no way to avoid it. Even those who are used to feeling like kings of the yard in civilian life are forced to scrub toilets on their knees with a rag and a mop. Complete equality, but equality in humiliation. It breaks you morally, knocks the ground out from under your feet. The reason for such brutal conditions is simple. The authorities deliberately create a bogeyman out of the disciplinary battalion. The goal is to eradicate the slightest offenses in the army. The disciplinary battalion was conceived as a legal analog of a concentration camp within the armed forces, so that the very fact of its existence would instill fear in every soldier, so that any recruit, upon hearing the word disciplinary battalion, would understand, it is better to endure everything than to end up there. It is for this purpose that they regularly film television programs that vividly demonstrate the daily life of disciplinary units. These films are deliberately shown in training centers and combat units so that soldiers can see that there is no mercy or leniency there, only hard labor, sleepless nights, and a life that squeezes out every last ounce of strength. And all this is especially monstrous when you think about who exactly is sent there. They are not murderers, rapists, or repeat offenders. No, most of the disciplined units are 18-year-old boys, yesterday's schoolchildren, who voluntarily came to serve their country. Most often, they end up there because of stupidity or youthful maximalism. Some got into a verbal altercation with an officer, unable to tolerate injustice. Some ran away from their unit for a couple of days to help their family or visit their sick mother. Some got into a fight with a fellow soldier, defending their dignity. And for this, they receive punishment that is much harsher than that given to many hardened criminals. In principle, the violations for which one can end up in a disciplinary battalion are common to any young man. Fighting, verbal altercations with a commander, unauthorized absence from the unit to go home and help one's parents. These are normal situations that everyone can understand. But you have to agree, such offenses are nowhere near the crimes of real criminals, drug dealers, murderers, robbers, repeat offenders. Nevertheless, it is these 18-year-old boys, who are essentially still children, who find themselves in conditions that are often worse than those of hardened criminals. The only relative advantage of a disciplinary battalion compared to a civilian prison is that the time spent there is not reflected in the individual's personal file. Formally, after release, soldiers can continue their service and even pursue a military career as if nothing had happened. But in reality, the consequences are enormous. Disbat cripples a person from within. Their psyche breaks down under the unbearable pressure of humiliation, monotony, and constant violence. It can take many years to restore mental balance, and sometimes it is never restored. Physical health suffers no less. Exhausting hours of exertion, forced marches to the point of complete exhaustion, endless drill training, and hard physical labor on par with hard labor leave their mark on the entire body. Add to this regular brutal beatings for the slightest infraction, and you have a hell in which not only the body but also the will is broken. Unlike the army, where the rules are at least sometimes compatible with human decency, in a disciplinary battalion, a convict can be beaten half to death literally for saying the wrong thing, giving the wrong look, or writing a report incorrectly. There were more than 20 disciplinary battalions in the Soviet Union, where thousands were sent. Now there are only 2 left in Russia, in the villages of Mulino and Kashtak. But the essence remains the same. The disciplinary battalion breaks absolutely everyone. No matter how strong a person is, no matter how hard they try to hold on, after the atrocities they have experienced, they will never return to their former state. This black mark will remain in their memory forever. Ruined health, crippled joints, chronic injuries, insomnia, and empty, embittered eyes. And the scariest thing is that it is very easy to end up there. Sometimes a minor offense is enough, which in a normal unit would end with a reprimand or detention. But it is almost impossible to return from there without consequences for one's mental health and well-being. A person comes out a different person. They will never be the same as they were before.